be a year and a half. Who knows? They just couldn't determine when they would have a battery.
Hitting the road in 2010, the Nissan Leaf became one of the first successful zero-emissions electric vehicles. More than 20,000 have been sold in Canada. In a statement, Nissan Canada says it's working diligently on a compatible replacement for the battery used in Haruni's car, and it's close to a sustainable fix for the Canadian market.
It's a real scarcity issue in the sense that you have a vehicle that didn't get a lot of production built, and the battery itself was a third-party sub-assembly that was put into the vehicle, and they're not being built anymore because, Nissan and the battery company, AESC, has really advanced in terms of they're on the next generation.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Parts Talk. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you. Now, Canada's ambitious journey towards net zero carbon emission by 2050 is at a crossroads, and the latest findings from AutoTraders.ca's 2023 report have thrown an unexpected twist into the narrative. Now, as the nation grapples with the mandate for 20% EV sales by 2026, the report reveals a fascinating trend between the dream of an electric vehicle future and the pragmatic choices Canadians are going to make today. Now, we will show you another pitfall in owning an EV and the vast disadvantage you will have if you intend on keeping it for a long period of time. But before we dive into this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel if you appreciate the content. Let's get into this video.
Electric vehicle battery plants are under construction and mandates are in place to make EVs at least 20% of car sales by 2026. But a new report from AutoTrader shows that goal may be difficult to achieve. Greg Mordew at McMaster University says while the Canadian government expects consumers to turn up their appetite for EVs, it's unlikely it will be that quick.
The reality is the marketplace is saying we're not quite ready, and the automakers have said we probably won't have them for you.
The survey by AutoTrader found the number of Canadians who didn't own an EV but planned to buy one dropped from 68% in 2022 to 56% this year. The marketplace's editor-in-chief Jody Lai says it appears a contributing factor is gas prices.
So higher gas prices, people are more interested in EVs. Lower gas prices, that interest starts to soften a bit.
Though interest in EVs may be down, the AutoTrader report shows the most sold vehicles this year were trucks and SUVs. Lai adds that may have to do with availability.
It's not necessarily that Canadians are moving more towards gas-guzzling trucks, it's just that there are more options available for different types of truck buyers.
Part of that may be the cost consumers face when buying the cars, about $73,000 on average, according to the Canadian Black Book. But the Federal Environment Minister's office disagrees, saying interest is strong. With 1 in 8 new cars in this year's third quarter being EVs, it is availability that is the issue. The federal government and provinces like Ontario and Quebec have invested millions into EV battery production. Last year, Ottawa also mandated its 20% goal, but they want to reach 60% by 2030 and all sales to be EV by 2035.
2026 is a heartbeat away. 2030 is another major milestone, and 2035 is it. And so what does it mean? Well, right now it means 0% internal combustion engine vehicles. And that's a big mountain.
With Canadian governments trying to boost interest in electric vehicles to meet their goals, Mordew says it's likely politicians and the auto industry will need to take more measures if Canada is to cross its hopeful finish line for EVs.
But to reiterate, 40% of Canadians not considering the switch to EVs cite vehicle prices as the primary obstacles, and it seems the allure of electric vehicle clashes with the financial realities faced by consumers today. And meanwhile, the bustling streets of Toronto, residents without parking spaces ponder how they'll charge their cars, adding yet another layer to the intricate tapestry of Canada's electric revolution. Then we have supply chain issues, and ever-changing technology make it harder to find batteries for older EV models, as you will see here in this next video.
This is not the car Atif Haruni wants to be driving. He's been using rentals since last December. That's when the battery on his 2017 Nissan Leaf failed, needing replacement.
Initially, I was okay with it, right? Like I understood there might be supply chain issues.
But now his car has been sitting in the dealership parking lot for more than a year. Nissan has promised to reimburse him for gas.
not giving me the ETA is just frustrating. They are producing new car batteries right now, so I'm not sure why they can't produce replacement batteries.
It's a concern. It's a disappointment. It's a frustration.
This Quebec resident is having similar issues. He's been without his car since October.
But let me pause there, is that whenever a new model car comes out, we in the parts department get something that you call a new parts master listing that we will go ahead and make the suggested orders in order to have sufficient stock on hand for those new cars. Where the batteries are concerned, I don't think dealers are in a capacity or have the space to store these batteries because they are quite large. And allocation problem is also a next issue, because all those cars that have been ordered have already been allocated for customers who have probably made a deposit a couple of months ago before those cars can actually roll off the assembly line. Now, he's waiting on an extra battery. The company, the manufacturer, will have to go ahead and special order that battery, which they have no idea how to go about and allocate that one particular battery. It's a sticky situation. Let's continue.
Be a year and a half. Who knows? They just couldn't determine when they would have a battery.
Hitting the road in 2010, the Nissan Leaf became one of the first successful zero-emissions electric vehicles. More than 20,000 have been sold in Canada. In a statement, Nissan Canada says it's working diligently on a compatible replacement for the battery used in Haruni's car, and it's close to a sustainable fix for the Canadian market.
It's a real scarcity issue in the sense that you have a vehicle that didn't get a lot of production built, and the battery itself was a third-party sub-assembly that was put into the vehicle, and they're not being built anymore because, Nissan and the battery company, AESC, has really advanced in terms of they're on the next generation.
Just this week, the federal government announced plans to phase out gas and diesel-powered vehicles by 2035, a move to bring in more electric vehicles in the coming years. As for Haruni, Nissan says it will expedite reimbursement for his gas, but what he wants is a replacement battery for his Leaf, and soon. If not, he wants Nissan to buy back the car. Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Toronto.
It's a sad state of affair. Instead of trying to supply him with a battery, they in turn sought it cheaper and more affordable for them to reimburse him for the gas he's been using in that rental car. It's sad. And going back to that car itself, that Nissan Leaf, it has been discontinued. Normally in the parts department, again, you go ahead and you try to order certain parts. They will actually tell you on the status sheet that those parts have been discontinued. But now it opens up another market, which is the used parts market for electric vehicles, and a brand new battery can go as much as up to $50,000, which is the same exact price for a brand new car. Where does it end? But to go back to the first story, in terms of consumer choices, while luxury sedans and sports cars dominate the top search vehicles, the actual sales paint a different picture. 9 out of the 10 vehicles sold in 2023 are functionality vehicles such as trucks and SUVs. And if I work hard enough, I think I would need to treat myself to a little luxury like everyone else. And this is just a reflection of one's practicality and dreams. Work hard, play even harder, and I deserve to treat myself every now and then. It's a sad state of affairs is that a couple of videos that have been featured for customers waiting to replace the battery of their EVs, the news media, mainstream media has to get involved and get in contact with the auto manufacturers, and some of them in turn go ahead and replace the battery because they don't want the bad publicity. But the EV mandate in Canada will see 1 out of 5 vehicles produced must be an electric vehicle by 2026, and then by 2030 it's going to be 3 of 5 vehicles. By 2035, all vehicles produced after must be an electric vehicles. We will begin to see a great divide in Canada here because EV batteries aren't cheap, and the batteries will take a lot of raw materials to manufacture. So where's this talk about saving the environment?
How dare you?
But looking at the global trend is that the report aligns with SUVs dominating the new car market, and a report by the Global Fuel Economy Initiative reveals that the growth in vehicle size has hindered emission reduction efforts. Now, as governments and industry industry's push for electrification, additional measures beyond the current initiatives may be necessary. So as Canada hurdles towards its EV sales target for 2026 and the broader net zero goal for 2050, the road ahead appears winding. And while EV dreams flicker, the choices consumers make today echo a more grounded reality. With 2030 and 2035 looming as a major milestone, the nation faces a monumental challenge of transitioning to 0% internal combustion engine future. The question remains, can Canada steer the course, or are we in for a detour on the road to net zero? I see it coming, I see the great divide, and things will only get worse before it gets even better. Let me know your thoughts below. Remember to grab a copy of my ebook, The Parts Manager Guide. Please smash that like button on your way out. It will only take you 1.5 seconds to do so. Until next time.